Looking at the Steve Biko or the inaugural Steve Biko Memorial Lecture, how was this conceptualized and what motivated you as the organizers of the lecture to come about with this kind of an initiative?
Okay, thank you. Thank you first of all for coming through, and thank you for really gracing us with your presence. This inaugural lecture was conceptualized by the messages we've been getting from our MEC of the 7th Administration, Bantu Biko. She is a firm believer that we need to engage with communities. But not only that, we need to also recognize the people whom our hospitals are named after. And it was after she said that I realized that actually we haven't had a Steve Biko Memorial Lecture. But also, we don't really have many platforms as South Africa where we engage in a peaceful setting, where we come as oneness. And I thought, a memorial lecture of this kind could perhaps be one of many that could help just open up the dialogue about where we come from, why we were there, where we are now, and what we can do to continue to make South Africa sustainable.
So, what does the lecture mean to the hospital and the hospital community?
So when we look at Mr. Steve Biko himself as a character, as a person, we see an intellect who didn't really look at things through just one lens or a myopic view. It's an intellect who looked at a broader scope of the environment that he was in. Beyond him actually fighting the injustices of apartheid, he also assisted with other things, such as opening up community centers. This is somebody who would look at, here's a population, these are the challenges, how do I come up with strategies? And I think certainly Steve Biko strives for that. If you look at our mission, we strive to exude excellence in tertiary healthcare. It is the excellence that is Steve Biko, and for us, listening to his character traits and listening to his previous fellow colleagues and what they learned of him, told us that we're on the right track in terms of what we're trying to do for state sector public healthcare, and also to continue to live up to that legacy.
So you just touched on what the MEC has done in inspiring the hospital or you to come about with this kind of a lecture. And in her speech earlier today, she also challenged the hospital to say, let us see Steve Biko when we walk through the corridors of the hospital. As the CEO, when are we likely to start seeing such being implemented? And also she emphasized that whenever that is done, it should be done in accordance with the law.
Yeah. Now, believe you me, whatever NBC says she wants, we make it happen as soon as possible. Of course, the first thing is we need to engage with the Steve Biko Foundation and also engage with the likes of what I think was 90 people to make sure that the imagery that we're going to put in the walls of our hospitals really does reflect what the family is also quite comfortable with. Once we have that, and of course, bearing in mind that we are now sitting towards halfway of our financial year, we do need to budget for it and just look at it from a budget perspective. So I ask that patience is of virtue. Excellence doesn't just come overnight. We will certainly have ways in which we can showcase him and imagery that really does exude the excellence that he was as a person.
I know my question might be premature, but having listened to that, have you started conceptualizing what kind of a memorial are we going to see?
Oh, absolutely. I think certainly the lecture that we had today, it was a new thing that we did. We also decided we're going to utilize today just to learn, what we've done well, and of course what we can improve on, because anything in life always needs you to improve on it. But it will certainly be something that comes into our annual calendar. But what is also important is we realize, information is only as good as the people who tell the story and the people who reach out to people who need to know the story. There's a lot of youth. We've got a lot of schools around us that we want to engage with. We see ourselves also being part of really conscientizing society in terms of the history of South Africa, but also in terms of what we expect to be as citizens, what's expected of us as citizens to really contribute towards making South Africa the great nation that it is currently and ensuring that it actually continues forever.
Today's lecture was the inaugural one. And as the hospital and organizers, where do we see this in future?
It can only get better and bigger. And I really must say that I was not a part of this at all. I just simply said, guys, we need to have this lecture, and I let it run. And I think this also just shows the type of caliber that we have people in Steve Biko. I'm really appreciative and also very proud of the responsiveness that I have from my team, but also the professionalism. So what you can gather from this memorial is to really get to understand and know Steve Biko more. Even now, we've just recently bought, huge machinery. I would love to see more of the community getting to know health, but not health as just doctors and nurses. Health in all terrains. We've got massive boilers, we've got massive chillers. We keep talking about TVET colleges. We need to actually showcase just how these skilled people fit into a fraternity, even such as healthcare. They're just as important as the neurosurgeon who's busy with the brain, because without them we don't have warm water, we don't have the cold theatres. So we really see this as an opportunity to actually make hospitals not only the end stage of people coming in for health, but to really be a thread in the community and benefit the young, benefit even sectors such as education who want to rotate their people through to come and get skills. So it is really an opportunity just to open up other facets that we have to offer as state.
A lot has been spoken about the kind of a person Steve Biko was. And if he was to walk into this hospital today, would you say Steve Biko would be proud and happy that the hospital that is named after him is doing what it is doing? And where do you think you still need to do more?
Yeah, I'm getting worried because first of all, when I got in here, this room echoes. And secondly, you seem to be repeating a lot of the things that I say in the management meetings. I absolutely always talk about two people. And the first person I always talk about is Steve Biko, her, as a hospital itself. How would Steve Biko feel if they had X budget and they look at what comes out of it in terms of patient care? Quality, dignity care, efficiency, and very effective operations is something that we strive for. But absolutely, I think about 3 weeks ago, we actually spoke about Steve Biko, and we said we're not just talking about Steve Biko, the politician. We are talking about a young man who wanted to become a doctor. And I remember actually saying to my team that, remember, you don't just wake up one day and decide you want to do medicine. Medicine is something that you start planning for even in primary school. You put in effort in your science, biology, your mathematics. You skip parties because you want to head there.
And some courage.
And some courage, absolutely. And I said, so we are actually celebrating, and mind you, having been an African man in that era, there were very few people who actually thought or were bold enough to think they could become doctors themselves. And so I say we have to exude exactly the character that this man is. So I can tell you one thing, first of all, he would be proud. I mean, myself as an African woman, really, I cannot walk through the corridors without appreciating the fact that people like him are the ones that made it possible for me to be here. I had my own grandmother who was a scrub nurse working in the black section. And I must say, even when we celebrated Nurses Day, Magdalene Gagulu was my grandmother's name. I kind of really wished Gogo could wake up and just say, Gogo, guess what? Not only am I on the white side, but I'm actually leading this institution. So absolutely, I can tell you they would be proud. It's not perfect, but it absolutely is the beginning of what we hope that what they have actually died for really makes it worthwhile for them wherever they are currently.
As Steve Biko Academic Hospital, what is your message to the community out there and also to the Steve Biko Academic Hospital community?
My message is very clear and it's very simple, and it's going back to the basics. You cannot become anything in life if you don't read, if you don't take education seriously. But also you cannot become anything in life if you don't really take the ethos of why you're on earth seriously as well. We cannot all become presidents or CEOs, or famous people at all. But we absolutely are given the gift of life, and that gift of life is to make a difference to every single person that is around us. And so my message is we need to just go back to that. We live in a time where it's insta everything, insta fame, insta wealth, insta importance. But unfortunately, like I told you, excellence actually comes over time. So we need to be patient. We also need to be realistic, and we need to focus on what really matters. And what matters is in your path as you walk through this journey, because we're not always going to be here. What difference are we making for the next person that's coming here? Steve Biko helped Lehlohonolo to become a CEO in an institution that was commissioned, I think, in the 70s. There was no plan for a black woman in her 40s to be a leader. What is Lehlohonolo doing for the next Lehlohonolo that's going to be birthed when Lehlohonolo has exited?
Doctor, we thank you from Progressive Independent Talk Radio TV for this wonderful time to actually talk to you and have this talk. about Steve Biko. Hopefully, we'll be doing that more often.
Thank you so much for your
Keep
support.
steering the ship.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.